We're excited to introduce Rama Ravindranathan, a multifaceted individual who wears many hats. Known in the literary world as Amar, she's not only an acclaimed children's book author but also a technology innovator who specializes in building groundbreaking products. Living in New Jersey with her family, Rama's journey into writing was inspired by her own children's boundless creativity. Today, she'll share how her bedtime stories blossomed into the beloved Oxie and Pixie Adventures series. Join us as we delve into her fascinating world of storytelling. Welcome to ITV Gold Studio, Rama. A very warm welcome to you and the world of Pixie that you're carrying with you.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here.
So tell me about Pixie's Fear of Water, Oxie and Pixie's Spring Fling, I'm Not Your Friend. I want to talk about that because you are my friend, right? And how does that title, I want to talk about how do titles make such a story so interesting and something that you would want to think about. And the last one is Playing in the Park with Oxie and Pixie. So first of all, congratulations. This is a marathon. I see 4 books and many more coming, right?
That's right. In total, in Oxie and Pixie series, I have 5 books, each with a different theme and message that I wanted to convey. Finally, I rounded it up with an activity book. Through the activity book, using Oxie and Pixie as my main anchor points, I wanted to take children on unforgettable journey with different activities that are very, very unique.
How did you think about writing the books?
It's my own children, like you said. My daughter, she's very fond of stories and storytelling. When she was in elementary school, every day it was our routine that she would ask me to tell stories, but I can't tell just any Panchatantra kind of stories. She'll tell me, Mom, I'm going to give you characters. You have to make up the story. So, she was my, I guess, challenger to come up with new ideas. Oxie and Pixie, however, was born out of some fun characters I wanted to think about. Because if I could tell the story to my child, I kept thinking, why not bring that passion in writing? So I gave it an experiment. I chose Otter and Pig because they are very fun and playful. So I wanted to use those two as my main characters and send a variety of messages to children, share those valuable lessons in a very fun way.
Now tell me about your pen name, Amar. Why?
Yeah. So like you said, I'm a technologist. That means the geek in me wanted to think about a pen name that's different than my own name. So I chose palindrome. Amar is the reverse of Rama. That's how I came to know about, or rather, I came to use that pen name.
First of all, tell me, this is for which age group, Pixie and Oxie?
I get the ideas through listening to other parents and also some of the children. When I go on walks and all, I observe children playing outside. And Oxie and Pixie, basically the very first one, which is Playing in the Park with Oxie and Pixie, was my first story. I got the inspiration for that story by talking to a friend of mine, where they were talking about how to just get the children outside to go and play in the park instead of staying at home. So it's through those casual conversations.
It's very hard to pull the children to come and play in the park.
It was. It was.
Did you have to hide their cell phones, or did they have the cell phones at that age?
Not at that age, but it is the television.
Television, of course.
That's right. And it's very enticing to just keep on watching those cartoon characters. That was another inspiration that I had to bring a colorful character and make those characters almost like speak to them through books.
How interesting. Now coming to I'm Not Your Friend.
Yes. So the inspiration for I'm Not Your Friend came through my conversations with a colleague. It was a little bit sad because they were talking about how their elementary school children were in school and some of the kids, they didn't want to be the kids' friends. And it talks about a multitude of complex issues, such as if you are in a friends group, then I'm not your friend. I don't want to talk to you. So even though it's the opposite of I am your friend, I just chose the title because it conveys the message of, it's a very commonly used phrase. If you observe elementary school children, they constantly say, I'm not your friend, just as a casual note. So I chose that title, but the message that it conveys is irrespective of which groups you are in, what your interests are, you always can find a friend.
Does it also deal with, children getting bullied or race or, racism? And probably, when we were kids, we also dealt with the same things, and we would have fight with our own friends and, say such things. So where does it stem from?
Yeah. So bullying is, you got it exactly. That's the one thing that I wanted to address, because when I started I'm Not Your Friend, or when I started getting ideas for that book, bullying was very prevalent. People were talking about basically institutional bullying. It just is not in schools, it's everywhere, it's very prevalent. I wanted to convey the aspect of bullying is not cool, but use it in the context of a school, so the message reaches much wider audience. That was my inspiration. And I have another book, which was my 5th book. It's called Oxie's Outstanding Opinion. That talks about the differences that we have and be able to celebrate the differences, whether it's the skin color or different races, any of your interests, it doesn't matter. We can all find something that's common irrespective of our differences. That's how I closed my series with that final book.
Very nice. And let's talk about Oxie Pixie's Spring Fling. What's that about?
For sure. So when we were growing up, if you remember, there is always a friend who has a different opinion or wants to do something that's different.
I think I was the one in the group.
So it's about, it's okay to be that different friend who wants to do something totally different. And what I wanted to bring through that Spring Fling is, it's a colorful adventure that they both go on. They meet several different friends. Through that journey, Oxie wants to do something, Pixie wants to do totally something different. What happens is you have to give in to gain friendship. And that's the message that I wanted to convey, which I conveyed through the flower picking. And that's the theme. And it happens in spring season.
That's so deep. Is it talking about compromises?
Yes.
Okay.
And in my series, every book talks about a unique message. The first one talks about friends, friendships, going out to play is fun. Pixie's Fear of Water is the second book. It talks about how to confront your fears. And Oxie and Pixie's Spring Fling is the third book. It talks about giving in to gain friendships. I'm Not Your Friend is the fourth one. It talks about bullying and how to not bully. The final book is called Oxie's Outstanding Opinion. And that book talks about confronting differences and be friends and live together.
Wonderful. How do you get time to write and think, and you are into technology? So was there ever a specific moment when you decided, okay, now it's about time that, my children are growing up, they're independent, I should be doing something for myself. So is this something that you've always wanted to do, like be a writer?
I always liked writing, but I did not think that I was going to be a publisher of children's books. When my daughter entered high school, I started having all of this free time, or so-called free time, over the weekends, because I would go drop her for activities, and I had a lot of time. And all of these ideas just go on in my head. I wanted to bring those or give form to those ideas, and that's why I brought them. It was a very complex process, though, because I didn't know what to write or how to write. I took help from a lot of people, and my son became my first editor in reviewing, and the very first copy, like many people say, he completely torn it apart. He said, that's not how you write. So it gave me a lot of learning through this writing process. I find time after work in the evenings or weekends when I'm not doing much. Instead of just scrolling through the net, this became my passion project. So,
how much time does it take for you to write a book?
I allocated because I did not know how many books I was going to do initially when I started. My very first book took me 3 months from start, because I had to come up with the storyline, have to identify the illustrator. My thoughts had to converge with her thought process. I found a wonderful illustrator, and it was all done through net. It was not in-person conversations. So virtual calls are even more crucial for me to convey my ideas, so she could think and come up. Because these are children's books, illustrations played a huge role in conveying the idea. It took about 3 months, and once I got a hang of it, I would get the manuscript ready for the illustrator. Then the process became a little bit smoother. My longest stint was, I think, 4 months for me to come up with the final book.
Wonderful. And one can just read it in like one go, like one bedtime story. And the size is right, the length is right for this.
Correct. I deliberately chose to keep it like 30 to 32 pages, each of those stories. And the content is so simple that you could finish reading in 10 minutes. When I shared these books with a couple of people, the feedback that I got was they wanted to read it again. So in one go, one child read 3 times. So.
Wow. And so again, I would like to ask, your topics are very universal. It applies to everybody. But being from India, do you have some ideas to incorporate maybe some kind of Indian wisdom, like you mentioned, Panchatantra, maybe give it a modern twist and put it into books like you might be planning in future?
That's still under consideration. Having done the children's books, there are a lot more thoughts that are brewing up, especially something to do for teenagers. We talk about how to influence. At certain age, we almost feel like teenagers are out of our hands and there is nothing much that we could do. But if we look at our Indian stories, and having grown up in India, there are lots of things that I can draw inspiration from, something that I have been thinking about but yet to come.
Wonderful. Your Oxie and Pixie adventure series focuses on curiosity and exploration. How do you balance the themes of adventure with valuable life lessons in your stories?
So anytime when we have to tell a message, it has to be done in a playful way. If I want to catch the attention of not just children, but even those that are reading these books, if they are interested, then they can convey the tone really well. That's why I chose the stories in such a way that it's very fun, but in between, the message just goes into their heart. It was a very deliberate choice to pick. When we read the books, or when whoever is reading the book, they could see some of the books have the alliterations, some of the books have the rhyming words. It was deliberately chosen to keep that playfulness while also conveying the message. In between the story, there are some nuggets that are incorporated. So when the children listen to those rhyming words, for example, they just have a tendency to keep repeating it, and the message just gets to their heart.
I would love to have you read like a few lines from any of your books.
Absolutely. I'm going to pick the I'm Not Your Friend, because this is a very important topic that was close to my heart.
Sure.
They went to a school with giant arches, and it was very grand. Classrooms were filled with arts, music, and games, a magical land. Animals of different ages and personalities, big and small, learned and played together, having a ball. One day, Funky, with a mischievous grin, teased Pixie and said, "You are short, and I bet your snot is ugly," with a hand on his chin. The next day, Funky bullied Pixie with hurtful words so mean, "You are ugly and with a face wart," he said, his rudeness clearly seen. I'm going to skip through a couple of those pages and bring you all to a page in the story where what happens when you have good friends that can confront. Bold, daring, and strong-willed Lovely stood against Funky's words. He shared the concern with his friends, Burn and Fern, the birds. Oxie had enough of Funky's behavior, that's for sure. Being confronted by Oxie, Funky told Pixie, "I'm not your friend and I won't talk to you anymore." And then the story goes on into how they resolve that challenge.
Wonderful, it's so beautiful.
When I used to read books to my children, the rhyming words always caught attention, and I have seen my children repeat those rhyming words again and again. So that's one strategy that I adopted to just go about telling that story with a very important lesson. So I chose that strategy. But there are different ways that I have used in the books.
Do you have memory of the stories being told to you as a child, and maybe subconsciously you were able to put something in your books?
So especially the giving in to gain friendships through Oxie and Pixie's spring fling. I remember an incident, not very vividly, however, at just a high level, maybe it was just etched in my subconscious, like you said, is my grandpa. He used to have us, when we go on visits during summers, he would have all of his grandchildren sit around. The grandchildren only, we were about 20 kids. So
wow. And this is in Tamil Nadu?
This is in Chennai.
Chennai.
And he would make us sit around and everybody will want a story. So back in the day, I grew up in a very, very giant household. So he would make those get the food, keep it in everybody's hands, right? Distribute the food around. The reason he even told one of the stories is to say, you're not going to like what the other person is saying, or you're not going to get all that you want, so you have to give in. That's the message I think he conveyed in a very clever way. Probably that's etched in my memory.
How wonderful. Now talk about the publishing process, what is the process like for writers, the new writers, if they want to get into it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the publishing process, I learned quite a bit during this journey. And I chose to go with Amazon. Nobody has to pick that route. It was easier for me to go through that option. One would start with the manuscript, of course. And if the story or whatever your writing piece needs an illustrator, finding a good illustrator who could jive with your thought process is also very important. Once the manuscript comes to life with the illustrations, of course, in my case, I was very lucky because my illustrator knew all the different steps. I chose to go into KDP, the Kindle Direct Publishing through Amazon. Kindle Direct, and I would create an account, load the manuscript, but the manuscript has to be formatted in such a way that it is acceptable for KDP. Load it, publish it, set a rate, and also choose whether you want your books to be globally available or distributed only in the US. Set a price. Amazon also is very good. The KDP platform is so easy to use. They would suggest a price, and there are different avenues that you could run your campaigns, give the books for free. There are so many options that you could do. So the publishing process, while it seemed quite complicated, once getting the manuscript with the illustration is the crucial part, and also formatting the book is yet another crucial part. If you take care of those, publishing through KDP was easy, in my opinion.
And they market it well, Amazon itself?
No, you have to go through a marketing package with Amazon, and the other part is getting reviews. That's one thing that I have learned. is not just publish the book, but learn how to get the reviews and also run some of the campaigns. One thing that did really, really well in my experience is I went and spoke at East Brunswick Public Library. So create those forums where you could go and talk about your books, what inspired, talk about what the books are conveying, and that gives a lot more publicity to Amazon, because Amazon is an ocean. It's very easy for the books to get lost.
Very true. And are your books available on any other platform?
Yes, I chose to publish them in Amazon and also Barnes & Noble. And there is another, for a global publishing rights, I publish them through Draft to Digital.
Wonderful. Any message you would like to give before we wrap up this interview?
Yeah, be courageous about your dreams and also your aspiration. I did not know I would be a writer, but I chose to give it a try because this is something that's been in my head. So go after your dreams, be willing to take that risk. You may not like what you're doing. Like I did not like my first copy that was torn down completely. Be willing to take the risk, be curious, of course, and also have fun learning what you're learning along the process.
Wonderful. It's been a pleasure exploring the creative mind of Rama Ravindranath, also known as Amar. Be sure to check out the enchanting Oxie and Pixie Adventures series and stay tuned for more insights from this incredible author. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.